So I've been playing Call of Duty Zombies ever since World at War in 2008, and so I've been there for every single release date of all Zombies maps. I've also been there for when all the trailers came out, so I've been able to experience in real time the excitement and anticipation for each and every map, including the Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Zombies experiences. And as we all know, sometimes the maps deliver and completely blow our expectations out of the water. And other times we are left in complete and utter disappointment. So today I'm going to be counting down the top 5 most disappointing Zombies maps of all time. All these maps we're talking about today aren't necessarily bad maps, they just did not live up to the hype that we had for them whatsoever. The only map that's practically excluded from this ranking is Dead of the Night because there wasn't even any marketing or trailers for Dead of the Night, so there was no way to be excited or anticipated for it. I want to start off the ranking with 2 honorable mentions that I didn't think were disappointing enough to count them in the top 5, but personally I did feel rather disappointed with 2 of these maps. And that is D Machine and Firebase Z. So I know a lot of people absolutely love Cold War Zombies, and there's definitely a lot to love about it. But I was expecting a bit more for the first 2 maps of Cold War Zombies, and it was especially worse because these were the only 2 round-based maps we had up until like July of that life cycle for Cold War. So only having these 2 maps and them not having much to do on them just was quite disappointing, and I was really excited for Cold War. And although, like I said, D Machine's a decent map, Firebase Z not as much, but I definitely can find some enjoyment out of D Machine, especially when you're casually playing it or maybe playing it for high rounds. But the Easter eggs are bland on both of these maps, really poor Easter eggs. They're just boring, way too simplistic. There's literally nothing to them. There's barely any side quests on these maps either, and there isn't not much personality to these maps either. You also, of course, don't have a set crew, which is a big complaint from a lot of the community about Cold War Zombies. So I just felt like these 2 maps, they had to be put together as just being quite disappointing. I think Mauer or Toten definitely was a little bit more exciting, so I wouldn't include that. But these first 2 maps just started off Cold War on the wrong foot, at least in my opinion. But then again, we did know that Treyarch did not have much time to make Cold War Zombies, so it does explain why there's such a lack of things to do on these maps. So for that, it's not that disappointing because I was kind of expecting that, but whatever, it's not the worst. I'm actually also going to throw Voyage of Despair in the honorable mentions because I enjoy this map a lot more than most do, but still, it's the Titanic, and it just didn't really deliver with the Titanic concept whatsoever, so I have to throw it in here at least in the honorable mention spot because I still like the map a lot. It's just, yeah, it was definitely not nearly as cool as I think most people were expecting it to be. In number 5 spot is going to be Tagged or Toten. So Tagged or Toten is not a map that I particularly thought was going to be like amazing or anything, but it was the end of the Ether storyline, the main Ether storyline. Obviously, the Dark Ether is basically continuing it anyways, it's just like another chapter, so it wasn't really the end, but it felt like the end in the moment. It was the end for those characters, and I thought at least they were going to give us a really bombastic and really cool ending. But it just ended up being a bit bland. I think story-wise, this map is actually incredible. There is some amazing story going on with this map, but gameplay-wise, it really does not have much to offer, especially with the Easter egg. I think the Easter egg in this map is kind of boring. It's one of the weaker Easter eggs in Black Ops 4. There isn't even a boss fight at the end. There is nothing like climactic about this whatsoever, and to make matters worse, you play as the Victus crew. It is the final map and we're playing as the Victus characters. It just doesn't really fit whatsoever, so it was disappointing in that regard. Although we did hear about all the budget cuts for Black Ops 4 and that a lot of things were just going wrong with zombies towards the end of the life cycle, and they canceled a bunch of year 2 content. So for that, it wasn't as disappointing as it would be if, let's say, this was a map in like Black Ops 3, but for what it was still rather disappointing. In number 4 spot, I have Beast from Beyond, which might sound insane to some people because I doubt that many people out there were that excited for Beast from Beyond. But personally speaking, I love Infinite Warfare Zombies, I really do. Spaceland is an absolute masterpiece. Raven Redwoods is actually really good in my opinion. Even Shallon Shuffle, although there's some Easter egg steps that are a little weird, the map itself is solid. Attack the Radioactive Thing has some cool things about it as well, but it's definitely not as good as those other maps. So when it was revealed that Extinction was going to be coming into Zombies, I got really excited. I thought that had some really cool opportunities that you can go with. You can have a lot of different boss zombies that are taken straight from Extinction, and although they do that on the map, and it does have a lot of the cool Extinction stuff and Extinction elements in it, it still is just not a very good map. It felt so lackluster and bland compared to the prior Infinite Warfare maps. Easter egg was kind of stupid. It just doesn't have like anything to offer other than a really cool boss fight with Mephistopheles, which is of course part of the whole super Easter egg thing. But obviously the boss fight itself, the other boss fight is pretty terrible within that map. So yeah, to me it was disappointing. I was expecting a home run for the finale of Infinite Warfare, and honestly, if this map was incredible, I do think Infinite Warfare would have the potential to be like the best zombies experience of all time, or at least within like the top 2. In number 3 spot is going to be Revelations. So in no way do I think Revelations is a bad map at all. This map is actually quite fun. There's a lot of cool stuff on Revelations. But we were like so excited for this map after getting so many incredible maps in a row. I mean, you go all the way back to Black Ops 2 with Mob of the Dead, then Buried, then Origins, then you just got to skip Advanced Warfare because we don't have to talk about that. Then you got Shadows of Evil, Der Eisendrache, Zetsubo no Shima, which I think is underrated, and I know most people don't like it that much, but it's still pretty damn good. Garad Krovi, which is a masterpiece in my opinion. And then you get Revelations, and Revelations was very much anticipated. It is DLC 4, it's going to be the next Origins, right? But it just wasn't the next Origins. It was just a conglomeration of, is that even a word, conglomeration? I just made that up on the spot, I don't know. It's just a bunch of maps smushed into one map, and I think that's a cool concept, don't get me wrong, but they didn't go that far with it. Like, there wasn't that many locations, and they didn't return that many things. They just returned a couple things like the Thunder Gun and the Apothecant Servant and like the Gravity Spikes. There wasn't enough things returning from prior Zombies maps for it to really feel like that really cool concept being brought to life. Either they should have done something completely new, or just returned more old stuff, and then I think it would have been a little bit more exciting. And also the finale itself, like the story side of it, just wasn't that satisfying. Of course, Black Ops 4 continued the story anyways, but for that specific finale, it just wasn't very satisfying whatsoever. The boss fight wasn't nearly as cool as it should have been for the final map in Black Ops 3. There wasn't even the stabs. Everyone was like, oh, we're gonna get the stabs. They didn't even have those, so it was just way too hyped up. There was so much marketing for this map as well, so many teasers, so many trailers, and it just did not deliver in the way we were all hoping. It's still a good map, but it's just not the masterpiece we were all hoping for. Number 2 has to be Transit. Transit was really exciting, obviously after Black Ops 1, which had a lot of great zombies maps that most of the community loved. And we saw this trailer for Transit for the first time, and it was showing like all these different locations and the characters on a bus. And I was thinking, like, what could they do with this concept? There are so many unique ideas they can go with. It can really be like open world zombies. And it's just bad. It's Transit. We all know what Transit is. We all know it's not a good map. We all know it has so many problems that just plague it. It was fun, sure, back in the day, but at the end of the day, it's still a bad map that we got bored of pretty fast, and we were just waiting for the next experience, which unfortunately was just Die Rise. And then eventually we got Mob of the Dead and all the other good stuff from Black Ops 2, but damn, Transit was just disappointing. I think I played Town more than anything, to be honest, because I was just tired of the denizens and the fog and the lava and the stupid way of turning on Pack-a-Punch. It's just not a good map whatsoever. So yeah, Transit was very disappointing, and I remember the hype being really high for that map. And in first place is going to be Blood of the Dead. I think this is a pretty obvious choice here. I do not hate this map, but I don't like it at all. It is a pretty meh experience, especially when you compare it to Mob of the Dead, and it was really exciting. Like, we were all so curious to see what they were going to do with this map. Obviously, Mob of the Dead being the classic, amazing map that it is, we were expecting a remake, and it wasn't a remake, really. It was more of like a sequel of some sort that didn't have really anything in common with Mob of the Dead other than the location and the fact that the magma gat appeared again, and maybe some of the music was the same, but in general it's not really like Mob of the Dead at all, which is okay. It didn't have to be the exact same as Mob of the Dead, but it just doesn't do very much interesting things with it, and there's a lot of problems with the map as well. I mean, the biggest problem is the damn Pack-a-Punch machine moving around every 2 seconds, and you have no way of knowing where it is, and the map is gigantic, so trying to get to Pack-a-Punch is a nightmare. The Easter egg, not very good. It's probably the worst Easter egg in Black Ops 4, probably one of the worst Easter eggs of all time, if I'm going to be completely honest. It's not as hard as people say it is, but it's definitely not fun at all. I don't really have a good time doing it other than maybe 1 or 2 of the steps. I think the only good thing about this map that I actually really like is the soundtrack. It has an amazing soundtrack, and the atmosphere is really cool. The art design in general is amazing, and even some of the story elements to this map I think are amazing as well, but the map itself was just disappointing. It was supposed to be Blood of the Dead, you know, the new Mob of the Dead. It just was not that whatsoever, so it has to be the most disappointing map in Call of Duty Zombies history. That is going to do it for this video. Let me know your guys' lists for the most disappointing maps in Call of Duty Zombies history. If you want me to do the same video, but for maybe the most surprising maps, I definitely will do that if this video gets enough likes. So definitely smash that like button. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.